I'm Jason Feldman, and welcome to another Playbook. Today, we're talking about the last section of the sales script, which is overcoming objections. This is the 8th video of this 8-part series. I think it's going to be an 8-part series unless there's another tangent I can go off on, which I think you're probably thinking, maybe he can stop at this point, right? I'm just joking. Okay, so we got to get out of the doghouse. So we talked about the opener. We talked about the connection. We talked about the proposal, the presentation, and now let's talk about the objections.
Insurance dudes are on a mission to escape being handcuffed by our agencies.
How? By uncovering the secrets to creating a predictable, consistent, and profitable agency sales machine.
I am Craig Pretzinger.
I am Jason Feldman.
We are agents.
We are insurance dudes.
This is a huge point of concern for your sales team, guaranteed. And I used to have this problem too. You get to this part and this is going to happen regardless. There are going to be objections, right? I would say probably 95% of the time. And you might close 10% on one call close, but I would say most of the time, 90% of the time, it's not going to be a one call close. So you're going to have objections. You're going to need to know how to handle these, right? Because that is the case, because you get more objections, you almost get them on every single phone call. This is the part that our sales team starts sweating, right? Oh, I hate this part. They're going to say this, they're going to say that, right? So if this is going to happen and it's going to be the biggest point of anxiety for your team, shouldn't we practice this? Shouldn't we have this spot on? So one of my favorite ways to do this, I would get either a whiteboard out or I would just take a piece of paper out and talk to your team and start writing down all the objections and then keep, kill, combine them. If it's something that's going to be brought up consistently, or combine it if it's one that's like another one, or kill it, right? Keep, kill, combine. And what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to build a list of 12 objections. It's probably not going to be any more than that. 90% of the objections are going to be known. It's going to be something that we've heard a lot before. So we're going to write those down. And then we're going to say to our team, how would you handle that? And then you can really tune this part of the script. I like having your team do this because it creates buy-in. You can write this all day long. I can write this for you all day long, but it's not going to get the buy-in from your team. Remember, we talked about believers and really having that buy-in. This creates that buy-in. I'm telling you, because in this section, it's just like we talked about at the opener, keeping them on the phone and remember the peeling the onion, keep asking questions. That's the main point of this. Keep them on the phone and keep asking questions and really get to the bottom of this. Remember, you're the doctor of insurance, right? So if you're the doctor of insurance, you need to keep asking questions. Even if it's kind of a roadblock. What do you think your wife would say? Everybody needs to talk to their spouse. They go buy stuff all day long. Right? On their own. They'll go and buy a car on their own. But when it comes to auto insurance or insurance, I need to speak to my wife because wife really cares about exactly what's in their policy, especially if they're getting more coverage and more protection. Yeah, they really care about you switching. They want to get the final say of that. It's such a BS objection. And objections are just so funny to me because you'll almost never get the real one unless you ask what, why, and peel that onion. Unless you peel it down pretty deep, you really never know anything. And mentally, I think the biggest objection that we're trying to overcome is how can they justify spending this kind of money on a freaking insurance that they're never going to see a return on? I've never gotten in an accident. I'm never going to get in an accident, right? So that's why on the last one, when we were talking about the proposal, we're trying to really paint these pictures of devastations that can happen. We see it all the day in our agencies. Those stories, build those stories. I want to hear, like, when you're doing your sales meetings, I want to hear those stories. I want to hear them told well. You tell a good story about some devastation and how it could have been avoided or how it was avoided or something, that will sell a policy very quickly, especially if they have a daughter, like we talked about. They have daughter Sally, they really care about it. Really paint that picture, the importance of that, and what a big difference it can make in their life, in your life, and everything. So super important. So what we want to do is in this section where we want to just keep peeling the onion. You want to get your team used to being uncomfortable. Keep asking questions. Keep them on the phone. There's no reason to get them off the phone. If this part of the conversation is over 20 minutes, they're pretty invested in it. This is what's crazy to me. A sales agent can keep somebody on the phone for 35 minutes and say, oh, they just didn't really want the policy. Really? Because they loved hanging out with you for 35 minutes on the phone, talking about insurance and a bunch of BS? Unless you really did connect with them well, and then maybe it was that, but like, wouldn't they want that person as their agent if they really connected? Like, you can even tell them that. Say, dude, you and I just spent 35 minutes together, and it was, to be totally honest, it was a really good time. You could say that, right? It was a really good time. Like, I want to kind of keep this going. So I think you should buy this policy because, man, you know what? I think I'd be the best agent that you could possibly have. But like, you could get that ridiculous with it. But if somebody does stay on the phone, just look at the evidence. The evidence is they kind of want the policy, right? Even if they say they don't. So that's why you got to keep asking the question and peeling the onion. Keep talking about it. But what we want to do here when we build those 12 objections and the way to handle them is we want to have that on autopilot. So when you hear that, hey, can you email me the quote? Absolutely. I'll email it to you right now. Tell me when you get it. And then pop it up for me. Just tell them, go in your email right now, open that email, okay? Tell me when it's opened. Like, they're not gonna say no if you say it that way. If you say, can you open the email for me? They're gonna say, no. So go to your email, go to your inbox and open it for me right now. And what's the first thing that you read on the policy? Okay, let's go through the policy and then go back through the coverage. Remember that coverage, the glass repair? That's where that is right there. What a fantastic coverage. You see this and go through it with them. What questions do you have on this policy? Isn't this fantastic? Tie down. This is great, man. Let's start this today. All right. You said you're at Bank of America. I got that routing number, and then go into it, right? If they throw up another smoke signal, you might have to do this a few times. You might have to keep peeling the onion. Get to the real objection. Once you can't go any further, then you know the real objection, right? And most of them you can pretty much overcome. If it's just straight money, dude, you need to say, listen, this is protection for you and your family. This is super important to me. And this is what I do for a living. I've seen many devastations from people lowering coverage, not taking off the whatever coverage. Because I take it so seriously, I follow up with my clients big time. I'm going to be calling you every single day. Now, if this is something that you just don't care much about, you don't really care about the coverage for you and your family, then let me know and I'll take you off my list. But if you're telling me that this is something that you're interested in, then I'm going to keep following up with you every single day because that's how much I believe in what I do. That's how much I believe in this coverage. And that's how much I want this for you and your family. You know, call them every single day until they say, don't ever call me again. Absolutely. If you don't care about your protection, then you know what? I'll try to stop caring for your protection. I'll try. It's not going to be easy for me because I really do care about it, and I'll take you off my list. But it needs to be that kind of passion that you and your sales team have in this section to close the policy. So many times, especially in our program, we see agencies that get quotes all day long and can't close them. This is the problem. This is the problem right here. We are not passionate about this part. We don't build out the objections. We don't practice them. Like, this is one of the most important parts that you practice in your agency. This should be an easy part. I mean, here's the thing. You can even tell your team to tell them, I'm going to be calling you back and forth. A lot of people like to talk. We can waste hours doing this. That's fine. But let's just lock this in. Right now, let's just lock this in just so that you have the protection. You can always cancel later if you don't like your decision. But let's not waste your time. Like, I know your time's valuable. You told me you work here, and man, I know you want to go back there, and Sally's at home waiting for you. So get your team to get passionate about overcoming objections and that it's really not a big deal. And if you really want to make it not a big deal, it's kind of like a swimming pool, right? If it's cold, you just jump in and then you get them used to it. So if this is a pain point and you guys can't close anything, this needs to be practiced multiple times a day, over and over and over and over again until it's like so easy and so second nature that it's not uncomfortable. Your team, like, getting comfortable at being uncomfortable is the skill in all of this. The next video, I want to kind of just talk about all that and tie it all together. I just want you to know, so we talked about the sales funnel, the agent scorecard, the quote sheet, the believer's speeches, and the 4 parts of the sales script, right? The sales funnel, you've got to be able to back your numbers out of it so that you know that if they do the activity, you're going to get this result. And I guarantee you, if you spend the time to do that, you're going to find that out. To quantify that on a daily basis and make sure that your agency is running optimally, you have to have the agent scorecard and the quote sheet so that you know that you can just see, on a daily basis whether or not you're doing the actions that's needed to get the result, right? You need to show up. And what I mean by showing up is that you believe in what you're doing and be passionate about it. And you need to instill the belief in your team. And you know what? On that level, don't talk crap about anything in your agency. Just be positive, push them forward, leave the baggage at the door. I'm sure you want your team to do that as well. So why don't you be a good example of that, right? So just have them believe. If they believe, they can do it. I'm telling you, we've had agents that have sold over $50,000 a month and a P&C carrier that is way more expensive than other companies. And the policies were cheap policies too. So, well, not cheap. They were less premium than you'd expect. The sales team were dominating to get that kind of result. So then you want to go to the 4 parts of the sales script, the opener. If you do that right, you're going to save 50% of your leads by being able to actually turn those leads into a quote just by that first part and keeping them on the phone. Building a connection. This is the part that actually sells the policy. And then you get into the proposal where you actually sound like an insurance agent that knows what they're doing. And I needed that part. Because I sucked at this when I first started. I needed to have this written down because I didn't know that much, but it made me sound like a pro. And it was so important. And so then you have that proposal. And then you have the overcoming the objections. And you practice those 4 parts, right? And I know what you're thinking. There's no way my team, they've been doing this forever. There's no way they're going to do this. This is the thing. They can go off the script a little bit, but the script is for those road bumps, those things that might go awry, to help show you a framework in which you can always go back to. So you can deviate a little bit, or your sales team can, but they need to know and memorize your sales script because they need to be able to come back to home base if they get derailed or if the person gets derailed, right? It's really what makes you sound like the doctor of insurance. I hope that this series can help you and your agency get exactly what you want out of your agency. You can be a one-man shop and dominate. You can be a 20-person shop and dominate. You're designing your own agency. That's what's so cool about this game. And it doesn't matter if it's 1 person or if it's 20 people, follow a process that you believe in. Follow a process that is tracked and measured, and I guarantee you're going to be able to get the results that you want. It might not work out the first time. It's just like working out. You don't get the results from working out right away. It takes time, and it takes a process. It takes running on the treadmill 30 minutes a day to eventually lose the weight, right? And this is the exact same thing. It takes so many leads to fill a funnel to get Jack, remember Jack, the 8 quotes a day, because we're only getting 2 quotes from that first 100 leads in that first day, right? But then, we might get a smaller percentage out of the second day's calls, right? To start filling up those quotes. But you got to fill the pipeline. You got to fill the pipeline of calls. You got to fill the pipeline of quotes. You got to fill the pipeline of callbacks, the calling a quote back every single day. I mean, let's talk about leads. You got to call leads every single day, multiple times the first few days. And you got to call them the first few weeks, multiple times a day. How long's that call cadence for? Well, dude, you have 90 days. Well, it's different everywhere. So I don't want to get into legalities, but call the leads as many days as you're allowed to in your state. Follow a process and continually follow up. And I guarantee you, it's going to be one of those things that kind of sucks at first, and you're slowly tuning each part. I always say it's like spinning plates. It's like, you remember those guys that spin plates on the sticks? And it's like, if you're spinning them all of a sudden one plate starts falling, and then you might need to spin that one. But when you're building this, it's like a jalopy. You're building this jalopy car, and it's barely moving, and it's clunking down the street, and you need to start tightening the bolts. And eventually, You tighten the bolts a little bit each day. Eventually, you're going to have this car that's just screaming down the street, winning races. And that's the goal, right? Is predictability. Because when you have this in place, you also get freedom in your agency. Freedom to know that, hey, if I do this, I'm going to get this result. So I really want to encourage you to just do this, follow a process. If it's somebody else's process, as long as it's the process, tune it up that process until it's so airtight that you're getting the results that you want. And you're building the agency of your dreams and giving the life to you and your family that you guys deserve. And if you're in a position right now where you feel like you're in an agency that you don't like, right now's the time to make a change. Reach out to agents that can help. You can always reach out to the iDudes. You can reach out to us, our team. Our team would love to help you. But this is not a sales call at all, but it's just, I just want you to dominate at what you do and to be proud of what you do and build that legacy that you deserve. I'm Jesus Feldman. That's Playbook.